Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I discuss all things human design. On today's episode, we are on the fourth video of this 6-part series covering the human design profiles. I'm super excited to dive into today's profiles because I happen to have one of them, and we'll be covering the profiles 4-1 and 4-6. If you're new here and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I've linked several resources in the description box below where you can learn more about human design for free. And if you're curious about the other profiles, make sure to check out the previous 3 videos I've made on the human design profiles. And if you cannot find your profile yet, make sure to subscribe because I will be completing this series soon with 2 more videos after this one. I'm going to just dive right into it today. If you've been following along, then you already know the purpose of my channel is to be a supplemental to the original work. It comes from handwritten notes. In this case, it also comes from some presentations I've made on the human design profiles, and of course, the founder, Ra-Uru Hu, and I've linked his book that he co-wrote below as well. A lot of information here. I'm super excited to dive in, especially as I mentioned, I have the 4-6, so I'm very excited because this is the one profile that I have a lot to share on from my own experience. As always, I'll be covering the lines first, so we'll be looking at the 4, the 1, and the 6. And then we'll dive into the actual profiles. Of course, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit because we already spoke about the 4 a few times in the 1-4 video and the 2-4 video. But here we are again to chat about the 4, the opportunist. The opportunists are people who really have to look at their relationships and understand the quality of their relationships and how it drives their lives, because things do come in through those 1st and 2nd degree connections. I have some really fun stories to share when I get to the 4-6 profile, so I'll hold off on that. But those with the 4 are really all about community. They love having community around them. They love being around people. And that's really how a lot of things come into their lives, through the people in their inner network. The 1 energy, the investigator, are those that are driven by what they need to know. These are people that naturally are a little bit skeptical and they like to do their own deep dive and research and learn everything and then come back and teach others. That's something that I always am fascinated by with the 1 energy. They learn everything and then they come back and they even teach me, especially when it comes to human design. And then we have the 6, which is an interesting one because the 6 line lives as a 3 until its 1st Saturn return and even beyond the 1st Saturn return. So it has a little bit of that explorer, martyr energy, having all those adventures and experiences, and then it gets into that more grounded role model stage of life where the 6 just kind of operates in a place of wanting to sit back and share wisdom rather than dive in and have all of those crazy adventures that it might have had during the first 30 years of life or so. Let's dive into the 4-1 profile. The 4-1 is the opportunist investigator, and they are considered to have a bonus life in this lifetime in the sense that they are living what's called a karmic-free life with the 4-1. It's not necessarily karma-free, but it is definitely less karma-heavy. However, as with all the paradoxes found in human design or the gene keys, if you're into the gene keys, they might not necessarily feel like their life is totally karma-free. And also, just because you may be a 4-1 profile and you might not necessarily be experiencing a lot of karma, you still might be the catalyst to a karmic relationship for someone else in this lifetime. What's interesting about the 4-1 is that it's bringing together that opportunist energy of wanting to connect others and be with community, and then that 1 energy that is driven by what they need to know. So with that, the 4-1 is fascinated by people and life, and they're really here to remind us that life doesn't need to be as hard as we're making it. When I think about the 4-1, I kind of think of it as a person that's up against a glass and looking in and seeing how everyone else in the world is operating, and kind of just looking in and feeling like, oh my gosh, you don't need to make things so hard for yourself. You don't need to do that. It's not as difficult as you think it is. They're really here to remind us that life doesn't need to be so hard and that we really are meant to have fun. Those with the 4-1 have a strong sense of what's right and wrong. They are really good at determining different situations, being a mediator, for example, and understanding who is in the right or who is in the wrong. And they really are here to just kind of bring in that joyous energy to remind us that we don't need to take things as serious as we often do. However, as I mentioned, there's that paradox where I have met plenty of people with a 4-1 profile that do take life very seriously and do feel like they're suffering a lot of karma. And then when we unravel everything in their human design and they learn that they're having a karma-free or less heavy karmic experience, things start to fall into place and make sense for them. So it's a pretty interesting one. I would love to hear your thoughts if you have a 4-1 profile, because this is the most rare profile and we can only really know our own profiles at the end of the day. So let me know in the comments below if you have the 4-1 profile. The next profile I'll be speaking about is my very own, which is the 4-6. It is the opportunist meets the role model. And this is such an interesting one. These are people that are considered authority figures. However, I can say from my own experience, I certainly did not feel like an authority on anything until later in life. And if you've been following me for a while now, you know that even in human design, while I've studied for over 9 years, I certainly don't think of myself as an authority figure in the space, rather an introducer. I feel a lot more comfortable telling people that I am an introducer to human design. What that means is I will talk your ear off about human design all day. I love discussing it. I love learning about it. But at the end of the day, I just want to be an introducer because I really believe that we're all in our own journey and we all have our own experiences. And if I can just make it a little bit easier for you to learn about human design and make it a little bit more relatable to your real life experience, then that's what I'm looking to do. Just kind of be the introducer to your own journey. So not an expert, not an authority figure, just someone here to share my take on human design from our real world perspective. As I mentioned, I do have a few fun stories when it comes to the 4-6. Let me see in my notes if I have anything to share before I get into those stories. The 4-6, so this is something interesting. They oftentimes will have this open heart, but then they have this head that's like this mind going in and thinking things too much. And oftentimes their head and heart are not together, and that their head is overthinking things and then their heart is going after things. And sometimes we need to realize how we can make those two areas of ourselves work together. And then also there's a lot on the external. A lot of times the 4-6 is actually really afraid of judgment, but you would never know that. So really be friendly to your 4-6 friends. They might have this face that everything is fine and that they don't easily get hurt, but they actually do feel a lot of judgment, and oftentimes they will never share that. They actually will oftentimes even reject things before they can even receive the rejection. So as a 4-6, I've seen it in my own experiences where I might have left a relationship early, or I might have not even started a relationship because I feared the rejection or the potential rejection that could occur. So sometimes the 4-6 have those experiences where they won't go after something because they don't actually believe that they could go after it or that they are worthy of it. And that often plays into their human design type and other aspects of the chart. So just going back into the 4-6, it's so important that if a 4-6 is pushing you away, it could be that they are doing so not because they actually want to, but they might actually be afraid of a rejection that's more internal. So that's a bit confusing, but hopefully that made a bit of sense. Family and friends are also everything. As I mentioned, that 4 part, the community, the first and second degree connections are super important, and they do need that space in order to not necessarily overperform and hide from themselves. And what I mean by that is a lot of times they won't like to be put on the spot. They have a lot around not wanting to seem vulnerable in front of others. So again, that fear of rejection and then just rejecting before even getting into something is something that can happen with the 4-6, especially before the Saturn return, because again, that 3 energy is all about the experiences, and life will give us lots of experiences so that we can then become that grounded role model figure and share our wisdom with the collective. As I mentioned, I do have a few stories on what it's like to have a 4-6 profile. The first story I'll start with is my apartment hunting method, in the sense that, of course, I always try to do the one energy thing, the investigator energy thing, or what society deems as normal, and go online, go on Craigslist, look up different advertisements and find apartments. But I also know that things come to me from my inner network. And so with the 4-6, and also knowing that I am a non-specific manifester, meaning that I am meant to just kind of put it out there and let go, I also have an undefined throat, which also plays into this. So there's a lot that plays into this story, but I do think it is a very 4-6 experience. I shared with my Instagram audience what I was looking to attract in terms of apartments. So back about a year ago, I shared that I wanted 2 bedrooms so that I could work from home, an outdoor space, and a gas stove. And I put it out there on Instagram stories that that is what I was looking for. And sure enough, the next day, on a website that was not for apartment looking or for apartment rentals, I saw this little small advertisement with these photos that were super tiny, and everything was dark in the photos. They were taken at nighttime. The photos were super grainy, but I noticed that there were skylights, and in the back of my mind I had also thought, of course I want to have great natural light. And I convinced my partner that we have to go look at this apartment because there's skylights, which means that there must be a great natural light. And he was a little bit skeptical. He has a defined ajna, he's a projector. These photos were super ugly, and we don't even know if it was a real advertisement. It didn't mention anything about the fact that there's actually a full private access rooftop to our apartment. So we were super pleasantly surprised when we walked in, and we were just like, wow. This is a hell yes as a generator, and it's exactly what we were looking for. So that's just a little bit of a 4-6 apartment search example. Another fun story about the 4-6 profile and my job search actually happened a few years ago when I got into the crypto space. So those of you that have been following me for a while know that I also work in crypto. I've been in the space since 2012 and actively working in the space since around 2014. But my first actual job in the space happened when I started speaking to this co-founder of a smart order routing trading company at a barbecue. So we're sitting and we're chatting, and he's telling me about this startup and how his co-founder is looking to recruit someone that is knowledgeable about blockchain technology and could help build out all of the non-technical aspects of the company. And at the time, I had no idea what smart order routing trading technology was. It seemed like a lot of gibberish, but I was very involved in blockchain technology, and I was super interested in the crypto space. And of course, he introduced me to his co-founder, and I ended up becoming their first hire. And all of this was because I was at a barbecue, not looking for a job, and then I just happened to stumble upon this job opportunity by talking to someone that was in my inner circle, in my second degree network. So that's kind of just a fun way to think about it. If you have a 4 in your human design profile, I would love to know if you've ever had experiences like these. I often find also in general, when I'm looking to do something or I'm looking to learn about something, rather than try to force myself into being the investigator energy and diving deep into a topic, I will always ask my community. I will always ask my friends, family, those in my audience for help and understanding, because I often do learn through others. So that is just a little way to think about the 4-6 profile. I hope you enjoyed this video and you are excited about this series. I'll be coming out with the next one very soon, and we'll be covering the 5-1 and the 5-2 profiles. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so you're notified when that one comes out.